Greetings, friends. David Marks here. Every day, any photographer who shares their images online faces the risk that their artwork will be used somewhere else without their permission. To address these challenges, Adobe and its partners have been working on a strategy called the Content Authenticity Initiative. If protecting your work interests you, then follow me over to Lightroom Classic and let's talk about the new Content Credentials feature. I'm going to use Lightroom Classic throughout this tutorial, but everything that I demonstrate today is also built into the most recent version of Adobe Lightroom and most of Adobe's mobile image editing apps. Here, for example, is an image that I want to share online. What you're looking at right now is my finished product. This is my carefully edited RAW file. The original image is the one on the left. I did not add or remove anything using Generative AI. And now that this image is looking good, I want to post a copy of this photo to my website or share a version of it on social media. For that task, I need a much smaller JPEG version. So to create a JPEG copy that's the right size for the web, I need to tap on the Export button in Lightroom Classic. Export in Lightroom vernacular means to save a copy. And in this case, I want that copy to be a JPEG. I want it to be lightly compressed, and I want it to have relatively small pixel dimensions. Depending on your needs, the settings that you pick here for your output file size and resolution may vary. But that part is old news, and you can learn all about how the export dialog functions in some of my other tutorials. What's new here is this section, where we can set our content credentials. For now, let me just turn all of these switches on. And then let me tap on the Export button. Once Lightroom has finished exporting, I should be able to find my new JPEG out here on my computer's desktop. If I look at this image, it looks exactly like the RAW file that you saw a moment ago, but some secret information has been encoded into these pixels. Our eyes can't see it, but within this image, there is now an invisible watermark and a digital fingerprint. Our eyes can't see it, but a computer can. So now, let's pretend that I post this image to my website, or I share it on social media. Once this image is online, Adobe has created a browser plugin and a web page that can detect my hidden information. To prove this, I'm going to jump over to a website called contentcredentials.org. Here, I'm going to use the Inspect tool. And next, I'm going to upload a copy of this image so the website can read the hidden information. Now, we can see all of the secretly encoded data that this image contains. First and foremost, anyone can see now that I'm listed as the producer or the creator of this image. Second, this image now carries a live hyperlink to one of my social media profiles, and it contains a thumbnail version of my original RAW capture. That thumbnail, and then this list of tools down here, these to me are super interesting. This record of the type of edits that I performed is the closest thing that I've seen yet to proof that this photo was not manipulated using Lightroom's generative AI tools. Now that you've seen how the content credential system works, let's talk about two potential use cases. The first group that I see benefiting from the new content credential tools are everyday hobbyist photographers. For the hobbyist, embedding your content credentials is a great way to increase your social media visibility. By embedding your name and your social media handles, you can effectively watermark your work with live links that might lead those who appreciate your photos into your social media orbit. At the moment, the Content Credentials tool only allows us to embed Behance, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn account information. Before we move on to our next use case, I want to remind you of another helpful Lightroom feature. If content credentials interest you, then you probably want to activate some of these switches. And then you want to store the settings that you've configured inside your web or email size export templates. Here, for example, I have an export template that I usually use for email size images. But when I built this template years ago, the new content credentials option did not exist. So you can see that when I tapped here to activate this template, that it unchecked my content credential settings. Fortunately, updating this template so those settings will be active by default is easy. All I have to do is to turn on the appropriate choices again, and then I can right-click on this template's name. With a right-click, I can invoke the hidden Update with Current Settings option. And now, Classic will consistently include my content credentials whenever I export any image using this template. If you have a bunch of export templates, then I urge you to repeat this right-click and update process for all the ones that you use frequently. Moving on, let's talk about use case number 2. For photojournalists, content credentials might provide a crucial tool for maintaining the integrity of their work. Now, I'm not a photojournalist, but for someone like my good friend Elliot Ross, there's an expectation that the images that Elliot publishes are authentic, and there's an expectation that what he shows is not created with AI manipulation. For Elliot, or for everyone who works at this level, I think that activating this switch back here in Lightroom, the one that says include edits and activity, is of tremendous value. In this case, I'm going to upload an image where I used Lightroom's Generative remove tools to take out an unwanted object. I chose this image because I want to show you what the Verify tool will report if you upload an image where you've used some generative AI tool. So for that, let me hop back to contentcredentials.org. Let me go back to the Inspect tool. Let me select the file I want. I'll upload a copy of it. But this time, I want you to see here where it says this image was generated with at least one AI tool. Now, I know that only a tiny sliver of my audience are professional photojournalists, but it would not surprise me at all if we see this kind of embedded editing record become part of the rules for submitting images to traditional photo contests or for consideration in juried art shows. As you can tell, I'm pretty excited about what the Content Credential Tools can do for us, but I have to end this video on a bit of a sour note. If you think that embedding your name and your social media handles alone are going to help you to win a copyright infringement lawsuit, then I'm afraid that I need to burst your bubble. I'm not an intellectual property lawyer, but my understanding of the US copyright system is that unless your work is registered before any infringement occurs, then you will not be able to receive the thousands of dollars in punitive damages that you're going to need to cover your attorney's fees. Despite my opinion of our current copyright laws, I believe that Adobe's new content credential tools are a significant step forward towards a more transparent and trustworthy digital world. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you learned something today, then please leave us a like or a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in our next tutorial.